Welcome to Navigating the Seas with Greg Majors from Majors Financial Group. In this podcast, we explore the realm of personal and professional financial planning by helping family-oriented business owners, educators, and professionals nearing retirement overcome life's biggest financial concerns. One of them, maintaining your lifestyle while still having enough money throughout your golden years. We do this by helping you find clarity, confidence, and control in your financial planning. Listen in as Greg draws from years of experience and guest experts to open your horizons to new strategies and techniques designed to carry clarity, integrity, honesty, and credibility to your finances. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Navigating the Seas with your host, Greg Majors. Greg, how are you?
Fantastic, sir.
I am so glad to be back with you. For the listener, here's the thing. This is just the second podcast. The first podcast was Greg's inaugural podcast. That gives you a bit about his history, why he got into financial services. Also, I ask a bunch of personal questions, which was kind of fun to get to know him on a personal level. Go back at any time and listen to that. You don't have to stop now and go back. This podcast specifically is designed because I've worked with financial advisors for a number of years, and a lot of the things that I would hear is, how do I get somebody to call in? They want to learn something, but they're just hesitant to call in. And we've all faced that hesitation. Oh, geez, somebody's going to try to sell me something, or they're going to want to know about my financials. And I made a really embarrassing mistake like 10 years ago. Who cares, right? Here's the thing. Greg puts these podcasts out here for educational purposes, and they're pretty entertaining too. But we're going to talk about what happens when you call in. If you decide to do that step by step, Greg, are you ready?
I sure am.
Okay, so somebody hears one of your podcasts, it's great. It's really given them food for thought. And they're like, you know what? I need to talk to them about my specific situation because everybody's unique. I'm going to make that phone call. What happens when that happens?
They're going to reach one of our team members who's going to schedule an appointment for them. And we're going to have our first interview, hopefully in the next few days. And we call that first interview the clarity meeting, where we get together and we make it all about you, the client. We want to find out where you're currently at financially, but more importantly, where are you at in terms of retirement goals and dreams and desires? And where do you see yourself in X number of years when you stop working? Because we want to capture your vision of retirement, as well as what your personal goals are, maybe your financial goals, and maybe you have some legacy ideas for your loved ones. So that's kind of what this first meeting is going to be about. Okay.
So when this first meeting is scheduled, am I going to have to empty my financial junk drawer into a bag and bring it in? What are you expecting from me?
No, really. We really want to come in and just have a conversation, so to speak. Find out what makes you tick, what type of strategies maybe you've used before. So maybe you've worked with another advisor or you haven't. Unfortunately, I find out over my 27-year career that a lot of people get their best retirement advice at the water cooler or the coffee pot. So they don't really know what questions to ask or have asked of themselves. So when we sit down, you don't need to bring anything other than your thoughts and that type of thing, because we're going to give you a little bit of homework. One of the first things we do after we really dive into how you feel about things and what your vision is, we're going to give you a little financial inventory sheet or questionnaire to be completed. And it's pretty much given as homework. And it looks into what type of assets you already have, income streams, retirement plans. We'll ask some questions on there about, do you have survivor benefits and that type of thing. We'll also give you a budget homework sheet. We call it a spending plan. It's your budget, not ours. We think it's real important that when a person does a budget, they do it a little different than the normal. We like to have three big categories of what's essential, what's important to me, and what's the fluff. And sometimes what one spouse says is fluff, the other one says is essential. So it's important that they're on the same page. We'll do that as one of the first things to do in terms of homework, but we won't really dive into those things when we first meet.
Okay, Greg, I'm just telling you right now, I'm sure no other married couple has ever faced this. I call the boat essential. My wife would consider the boat fluff. What's your opinion?
I go with the one who's going to be happy. Like wife is almost always right. Happy wife, happy life.
I knew you were going that way and set myself up for failure there. Okay, that's fair that you're asking these questions and you're going to assign a little bit of homework. What else happens before I have to go home and do any homework? What else happens in this first initial meeting?
It's real important that we give you being the client, an idea of how we're going to work with you. And one of the things that is part of the homework, but we have a discussion about it while we're there, is a thing called risk tolerance, which is how aggressive or conservative are you with your money? And people have all different types of ideas of where they're at. So when we send out the risk tolerance survey, we make sure we send it to both spouses so we can get both of their risk control numbers. But we tell people that this number is their number. It's not their spouse's number. And we educate them on how that works. And then when they do bring in their questionnaires and they bring in their statements, we'll sit around and we'll match up what their risk number is that they've given us with what their investments are to make sure those two things are in sync. And it's amazing how many times they're not, and how in a couple, the risk tolerance can be so different between the two. In my years of working with people, I'm a little slow, but finally come to realize that people don't want to hear the information the same way. So we'll also talk about us sending out a communication profile. It's a little 15-minute quiz at the most. Clients answer some questions, and we find out how clients like to receive information. So we'll put together our presentation for meeting 2 in a manner that's most suitable for what they want to hear.
I love that, because here's the thing is that you're right. My wife is amazing with email communication. I am picking up my iPhone right now. Greg, just to let you know, I'm looking at the little red number on my emails. I have dealt with emails because I have so many accounts and so much spam on some of these accounts. I have 17,620. It drives her bananas. It absolutely drives her nuts to look at my phone, because those are just ones I haven't looked at. I know which ones they are. I know what accounts they are. I know what spam is. And I just don't have a good way to get rid of it. But she is great with email communication. I prefer text, right? Or phone calls, because that's more immediate to me. So I love the fact that you're finding out what people like and what's their preferred method. That's great.
We find out some clients want just the facts. Give us the facts, nothing but the facts. But other clients, let's say you're going to ask what time it is. They want to know what time it is on an analog watch, a digital watch, and a sundial, and how you create all three. So everybody's different. People want details. Some people want the top level, and we want to make sure that our presentations are going to meet their expectations.
All right. What else happens in this meeting?
One of the things that we talked about earlier is helping people find money unnecessarily and unknowingly. And that sounds like a corny saying, but it's actually very true. We find that during our conversations that there's these things called wealth transfers that take place, where by just the way people do certain types of everyday financial transactions and things, sometimes there's a better way. And these wealth transfers, where people might be losing money unnecessarily and unknowingly, come in basically 5 major categories. One is how they fund their retirement. 2 is how they pay their taxes or try to minimize their taxes. And a third one is how they purchase their homes. Do I pay cash for a home? Do I have a 15-year mortgage, a 30-year mortgage? That's another way where, depending on a person's situation, there's some ways to save some dollars there potentially. Next is, how do I pay for my child's education? Education funding is, as we hear in the news, between student loans and everything, are very expensive. So what's the best way for me to do that for my family? Okay. And the last thing are major capital purchases that people do over their lifetimes. That may be things like a wedding, or it may be buying automobiles, or you're paying for a vacation. There's a lot of different ways to pay for things that cost more than we normally have in our paycheck. So how do I do that in the most efficient way and have the most money to put aside for retirement? Because our goal is to help you find these dollars, augment your retirement, and not change your current lifestyle. Because we find a lot of people are hesitant to come see us, because if they feel like they're going to have to change their current lifestyle, it's like somebody saying, hey, let's go to the doctor and get on a diet. And nobody wants to do that. So it's just a way of reshaping maybe where we do some things and maximizing the potential that you have there.
Yeah, that if somebody said that, I'm not getting in the car. Okay, let's go to the doctor and get you on a diet.
Oh,
no,
man.
I just lock my front door. You can drive off without me. That's totally fine. Oh, okay, so what's the next step in this process?
The next step in the process goes to our second term, which we say confidence, because this is where we've taken the data you've given us. So the things I mentioned about the homework, we like to receive those back prior to our second interview, because when we can get them back early, we get them either via email or drop them by the office, we'll take the data you've given us, plus all the commentary and the answers to the questions that you've given us about your vision for retirement, and we put those together and try to chart the course, so to speak. But the first thing we do is we take all those things together and provide you with a current financial snapshot of your present position. And we balance that against where you've told us you want to go. And it may be that you've got it all worked out, and that's wonderful. Okay. But at least you have a snapshot of where you're at, where you want to be, and does that measure up? And then from that, we will look at doing some prescriptive strategies and different ideas to take what you have, how we might be able to enhance that with the dollars we found and the way you're doing things, and give you an enhanced view of that same journey and see how we can make it better. And a lot of times, it's not necessarily making it better because we're taking on more risk. We might be able to reduce your risk and get you to the same place without you having to worry about the stresses of the economy and other things that we face today.
And so you're doing all this and I still haven't signed up to be a client, or I'm not paying anything, right?
No, there's no obligation to do any work with us. All we ask for our clients to do is to help us in two ways. If you like what we have to offer, we would love to take you on as a client. But secondarily, send us to your friends. Don't keep us a secret. And our solution program here that we're going to show is going to be visual in nature. You're not going to get this 40-page report that you've got to sit at home and read and go through all the details. We think a picture paints 1,000 words. So this is going to be using some software that will visually take you through where you are today through retirement, both at your current state and what we propose. And obviously, This is your retirement. So we can adapt these things as you want to change those different parameters inside the plan there.
Yeah, the boat. We got to add the boat.
Yeah, most definitely. Got to stay in the boat. We're not in the boat. We're not swimming to retirement. We're on the boat.
We want to be on the boat. All right. So everything's gone. We've got this picture. We've sat down. We've had a great discussion. And what I see, I like. I want to move forward. But then I'm assuming this is where we say, okay, it's a good fit for both of us. And then what?
Well, once we gain agreement that this is where we want to go and this is the journey we want to take, that's when we'll begin the implementation. Now, sometimes that'll take place during the second meeting, but generally speaking, there's quite a bit of documentation that has to be done, formalized. We will set up a third appointment and our team will get involved and we'll start putting things together. And we've got basically 3 other people other than myself that will work with you in helping get those things implemented and reviewed for you.
Well, let's talk about them because, I mean, as robust as this is, obviously you can't do this by yourself. So who is on your team?
We've got I consider an awesome team. I'm very proud of each one of them. We've got basically 3 members above myself. Suzanne is as we've called her, the director of first impressions. And she's the newest member of our team. She joined back in March of 2021. And she's probably the one that's going to answer the phone when you call in. She schedules appointments and she also helps process all of our clients' new paperwork, as well as the service work that they may need on their accounts. She does some database work with our system and some of our bookkeeping. She's very well knowledgeable about the whole operation, so to speak. Suzanne, though, we got a pretty unique situation going on here at our office. Suzanne is a mother of twin boys.
Oh, my.
And it's like Pete and repeat. You can't tell them apart. I've known them for a long time, and they're now in their early 20s, and one's wanting to be a firefighter. The other one just graduated to college and is getting married. Now,
wow.
Who doesn't have kids? But I think what I think you'll find is really interesting because our second team member is Mary Beth Murphy. And Mary Beth is our director of client satisfaction. Now, she's been with our team since 2015. She's a graduate of the University of Florida, and she's insurance licensed and studying to be securities licensed with a Series 65, and one day hopes to have a CFP designation. Her main area of responsibility is helping develop these plans for the client. So when you see the things that take you from point A to point B, she's the one putting those things together, picking the appropriate products with my guidance to make sure we're showing the right things to the right clients for the right reason to accomplish their goal. Now, she also works with us when we do our control meetings, which is our reviews. But Mary Beth herself is also a mother of twin kids. So I've got 2 moms in the office and they both got a set of twins. Now, Mary Beth's twins are a lot younger. They're 3 years of age and they just turned 3 in March.
Oh, man.
And these twins are the best twins in the world because they're my granddaughters. Makes it kind of cool to have some family working here, but it gives continuity.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, that is amazing.
And not to be left out is our last team member, and that's Matt Majors. Matt joined our team in 2020 and he's insurance licensed. He graduated from Florida State University, and he started with us in our employee benefits section. He was an employee benefits specialist, but he also works in the case preparation with Mary Beth and has a detailed knowledge of some of the illustration support that we show our clients. So he's more of a techno guy. He works part-time with us because he is moving on to another career field over the next few years. He's actually going to law school and he starts in August. So his time's a little not as available as it used to be. But on a personal note, Matt's getting married in December. So I'm excited to have a daughter-in-law joining the ranks here. So it's really good. We think of our practice, or we try to model our practice after a doctor's office. So basically, I play the role of the physician, diagnosing, prescribing financial treatment. Okay. But Mary Beth is more or less the registered nurse. She assisting me at the same time she's working towards becoming a nurse practitioner, so to speak, as she gets her securities license, and eventually she'll be a physician herself. And Suzanne, who's the face of the practice, always welcomes our clients, with a smile and prompt customer service that they would deserve. And we'll say that Matt's basically the intern working on becoming a specialist. So maybe a corny analogy to use as a physician's office, but when we look at each other, we want to make sure that we're taking care of our clients from point A to point Z and making sure that their experience with Majors Financial is very satisfactory.
Here's the thing is that I love this analogy because of the fact that we all know that our health is not going to get better if we don't get a doctor involved and go see them on a regular basis and say, hey, look, here's an ache and pain, or here's what I'm concerned about. Here's some possible things I see happening in the future, whatever that is. That's what a doctor is for, that discussion. So for your long-term health and your long-term success, I believe it's vitally important to see the doctor. And so this analogy is perfect because if you ignore your financial health, right? I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. Ignore your financial health and you don't have a good plan of attack on it or a good prescription for what's going to fix what's ailing you or what's hurting currently, it's just going to continue.
Very true. And that's where that step 3 or control comes in, because we want to set up periodic reviews based on the client's desires. And some may initially want to review every quarter. Some may want it semi-annual. Some want it annually. But we're going to set that up based on what their expectations are. Secondarily, life happens. People pass away. People get married. They have children. Different things happen. So their plan may change. May have granddaughters show up. You never know. We need to be able to adjust those plans when necessary and when life happens for our clients. Then we have things like finance.
Before we move on, hang on just a second, because I do want to ask you a question about that. You already said that you're, depending on what they want, you're going to be reaching out to them maybe quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. But when you talk about family changes or other types of changes, what kind of events do you want your clients reaching out to you to tell you? And I'll just give you this one example because it falls in line with the granddaughter comment. My retirement looked a whole lot better financially, secure-wise, before I had grandkids, because once we had grandkids, my wife went bananas. She went nuts. A little bit of spoiling those grandkids. So I'm assuming that's a life event that you would want me to tell you about before our quote unquote annual meeting or when we were supposed to be meeting. If I know something's coming up that's going to alter my possible plan, I'm assuming you want me to call you. So what other kind of things do you want clients to call you about?
It's a two-way street. We obviously want to reach out, but we also want you guys calling us because we want to make sure that we can provide you advice and direction on different things that may be happening. Like we said, birth of a child, maybe you had a loss of a loved one, maybe you had an inheritance come up, or just a variety of different things. When you've had some type of life change, we just need to know about it. We want to make sure that you have your planning in place. Although we're not attorneys and we don't claim to be them, but we know that people need to have estate plans put together. So maybe we can point you in the right direction for that. Maybe you've decided to sell your home, you want to buy a new home, looking to finance and health. We don't do those types of things, but we can assist you in finding people that can help you. So we want to be the first resource that you call when those type things happen.
Yeah, I love that because you brought up a major financial decision, right? Not just the ones that are life events, but possibilities. And I'm not trying to beat a dead horse with a boat here, bud. But if I want to buy a boat, or even if I'm thinking about buying another car or a new car, is that something would you entertain a phone call? Hey, look, this is what I'm kind of looking at. It's got a $55,000 price tag, or I'm looking at a new electric vehicle they're kind of pricey still. Maybe it's 90 grand. How does that fit in my plan? Is that a call I can make?
Sure. Well, we had a situation the other day where we had a person that wasn't a client, had heard about us, came in and basically was wanting to pay off a whole bunch of credit cards. But the manner in which they were wanting to do it was not the most advantageous way for them to do it. So we just sat down with them for an hour, kind of say, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about that? And they were able to achieve their goals. And it saved them a lot of money, a whole lot of money, but it's just about advice. So we want people to come talk to us. We want to be able to answer their questions. And the one thing that we don't claim to know everything. And if we don't know, we're going to tell you we don't know, but we know where to get you the help. And that's what our desire is, to get you helped.
All right. And you'd brought up, before I cut you off, and I apologize for that, but you'd brought up financial events.
Right. We've all seen the dot-com bubble and the financial crisis in 2008, and COVID, and now we're facing this inflation. We want to be proactive with our clients as much as we can and give them advice to how to face some of these things, or at least maybe explain to them what's happening, what are the things behind it, so they might have a better understanding. And so we will probably send out educational either emails or some type of memoranda, and let people know. We encourage you to call us. Don't be afraid to ask, and we'll get you the information, because we know that over lifespans, our retirement course is going to change. We need to be able to adjust the course based on how rough the seas are and where we're trying to go. We may change directions because life is ever changing. And we just want to make sure that in this 3-step process, that the client's at the center of the whole deal, that he understands that our clarity is based on his clarity. Because if we don't have a good picture of what he wants, we can't help him as best. We want to make sure that he has confidence in what he's doing and knows why we're doing what we're doing. In control, we want to make sure that the client feels that they're in control. There's nothing worse than feeling financially that you're out of control. And we want to make sure that you understand why you have what you have and what it's supposed to do for you.
That's fantastic. Greg, I really appreciate your time today. This is a great overview of the entire process. I know the listening audience is probably feeling a lot better about what the possible outcome could be, or what they're facing if they just make that phone call and pick it up. And if they want to do that, what's the phone number that they should be using?
Area code 850-892-9922.
Fantastic. Greg, again, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
And our last thank you, of course, is for you, the listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Navigating the Seas podcast with Greg Majors. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Greg comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. And we humbly ask that you share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review, as this will actually help others find the show. Again, thanks for listening today. For everyone at Majors Financial Group, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Navigating the Seas, the show that teaches you proven solutions and strategies to build confidence and control over your finances. Have questions about the show? Visit our website at www.majorsfg.com or give us a call at 850-892-9922. Don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Majors Financial Group. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Securities offered through Center Street Securities, Inc., CSS, a registered broker-dealer and member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Center Street Advisors, CSA, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Majors Financial Group is independent of Center Street Securities and Center Street Advisors.